I come in, let's say I've sprained my ankle or I've fractured my ankle. And my goal is I got to get back to running 10K. Okay. You recommended, let's say over the course of X number of weeks, coming out of let's just say it was just put into an air boot. There was no RIF or anything like that. So pretty straightforward. And let's say you recommended 12 visits over the course of 3 months. And let's just say for argument's sake, the patient books what you did. So if I look at this, when I want to go to that final visit, I'm looking at that to say, okay, well, the goal was 10K. Was that goal achieved? So it was more in progress. So I still would give that therapist, for example, the thumbs up because it's actually well done. It's well documented. They're well on their way from an 8K perspective. And they actually attended 14 visits. Okay. So for me, I would actually put this in the category of a successful plan of care. And then I'm looking at whether it's an entered note because it was a phone conversation or whether it was actually a true SOAP note. I want to know what's in the actual P. Okay. And I want to know when's the follow-up conversation going to happen? Like when's the check-in if I was really at 8K out of 10K? Okay. Now, the key thing is everybody tends to enter this data incorrectly into the scoreboard, right? So let's say, for example, in a given week, you actually closed. So let's say you had 6 assessments come in. So there's your inputs, right? So that would actually be on the far side of the scoreboard all the way over here. And then what is your output? So you had 2 patients who closed that. So you closed their POC that week. In this particular case, if I was to audit that, I would put this one right underneath the 1 successful POC. And let's say the other one was unfortunately someone who went through your fall-off process and he or she would actually be 1 self-DC. So therefore, in that given week, your graduation rate was 50%. Okay, so you had 1 out of 2. Now, the key thing though is that we want to look at this as just still a general global number, because if I had 6 in, I've got 2 out, you can sort of just see that there's got to be that balance between inputs and outputs, but also appreciating too, why when we see people who come into the clinic a bit of a higher frequency, why we have to be mindful that it's not always going to be, a multiple of 2 visits per week, which is why we use the 1.5 frequency, right? What we talked about in the Clinician Scoreboard 101, just because of the fact of some people do graduate, right? And some people, as they progress, they reduce their frequency. So I always like to look at it though, to see like what's coming in relative to what's going out. And it really shouldn't be a balance, right? Because people tend to be sort of transitioning through their journey at different speeds. Okay. So I would usually say that this would be probably about a 50% representation relative to what comes in to what goes out. Okay.